Honorable, it's good to see you today. You raised a number of issues in the previous weeks to do with the political and economic situation in Zimbabwe. Today, the Speaker of Parliament is at UZ, where he is lecturing on the functions of Parliament, which is one of the oversight roles that it plays. What is the situation following our previous discussion regarding the functions of Parliament? Do the citizens understand these processes, the oversight role which MPs play within the country, Zimbabwe?
I think it's a very important initiative because I've always said that Zimbabweans, by their numbers, they do not understand the constitution. They don't understand certain acts that govern even urban and rural councils, the Mines and Minerals Act, and many others. And that requires an education. And education starts with academia itself. We are well educated, but not well read and schooled. And there's a difference in you getting a distinction, but not just understanding the role of certain institutions, being streetwise. And I think we at times realize that for a very long time, for as long as we don't take it to the people, it will be very difficult for the people to be able to understand the role of Parliament. And the Speaker, being the leader of Parliament, is critical in doing. Not only that, it also educates the people when they're voting for their member of Parliament. Who do they want? Because the criteria is simple: 21 years of age, citizen of the country, and to me that's not enough. There's no criteria in terms of education, which then means that you can choose anybody. Even the noisemakers can be in Parliament, but the electorate must understand that it's up to them to do a due diligence of who must represent them at the end of the day.
Well, the issue of attendance you raised last week regarding public hearings for parliamentary public hearings, what is the situation in the perception that the citizens have in that regard?
The citizens must understand that when we talk about a budget we have passed for the nation, which includes members of Parliament, we also talk about things that will help them. The information center in the constituencies, which is a budget which was passed, we have not gotten the money. And when we make noise about it, they say we're being greedy. So now you're starved of information, which is critical for events that help you at the end of the day. So the information center are important. They were part of the budget. When you also talk about us having vehicles which are robust, which are durable, okay, it's important because we use them to go to the people and so forth. When we spoke about a Land Cruiser, everybody says, but why do MPs need a Land Cruiser? But you need us to get to where you are and so forth. It's a durable vehicle. So to me, it is important that the welfare of the MPs is critical in terms of them discharging duties. If an MP is compromised, how do they go about the oversight at the end of the day? That's why even the police must not be compromised. The security must not be compromised, because if they are compromised, then they will not be able to play the role that they have to play. We end up waiting in ministers' offices. We have oversight over the executive, but the executive has more resources than we have. The same thing as the judiciary. If it is not well resourced, how then are they going to be able to get people in prison when the people who are before them are richer than them and so forth? So we must be able to push for something which is critical in terms of making sure that the roles are played without compromise, but within the laws of the country.
Well, there was an issue that was raised earlier. Some members of Parliament are actually saying they have been getting monies from these public hearings, visits that they do in various companies playing oversight role, which is one of the functions of Parliament. What is your take to that?
Listen, how much money is it anyway, to be honest with you? If you look at it with inflation, we also suffer the same way people are suffering and so forth. Some of these allowances were given way after we've traveled. We're never given on the same day. And by the time you're given, it's been eaten by inflation, just the same way the ordinary person is suffering at the end of the day.
The monies that are being said are coming from these various companies that MPs are investigating, that they are given monies which they also regard probably to be as bribes in terms of reports that each committee should produce at the end of the visits that they do in various companies.
Listen, to me, whether it's happening or not, it talks about how good is the welfare of MPs? I go back to the issue of welfare. The remuneration. Is it good enough for them to say no to a bribe? Or at the end of the day, these companies will then be able to do the allegations that you're telling me that some are being bribed and so forth, to be able to give positive reports at the end of the day. I was chairman on 3 committees, and at no point would I allow that to happen. But probably the difference with me and others that I'm well capacitated. I'm a businessman. Before I was a member of parliament, I have a farm. I was involved in tobacco, one of the biggest indigenous players. Then I quit from the game and so forth. So there is a difference in how I approach things and others. You have a member of parliament who's never had a car, so they're happy to have a car. You have a member of parliament who's never had a house, they're happy to have a house. So when they don't have the basic needs of life, the first thing that they're pushing for in parliament, even councillors, I should get a car, I should get a stand. Yet if you bring legislators to parliament who have it all, then they'll concentrate on national issues. So to me, there needs to be a thorough investigation, and people must feel free in writing to the speaker or to the clerk of parliament on any of these issues, because they do compromise our reports at the end of the day.
Yeah, the issue of welfare has been raised on the previous budget. That the Chief Charumbira is on record speaking on the welfare of MPs together with the staff of Parliament, also purely remunerated. What is there any change so far in that regard?
No, first of all, what is the point of passing a budget every year? You burn midnight candles. At the same time, there's nothing that's implemented. I'm talking about across the board. Not only parliament, institutions, ministries. How much money are they getting from what would have approved in parliament? So to me, there's got to be discipline, that whatever we approve must be disbursed, or else the Minister of Finance must come and tell us that I've got $2 billion only, and in $2 billion I'm giving you this, and so forth. We seem to be passing a budget from what we don't have, and I mean less than 30% is disbursed out of 100%. So how can an economy thrive when you pass a budget and yet people are getting 20% of it? So let him tell us what I have is 30%. In 30%, this is what everybody will get and so forth. So it's really a joke at the end of the day. Nobody takes it seriously, and as a result, you have a dysfunctional government because of lack of resources.
So would this be a scenario whereby these citizens have lost faith and they no longer attend to these public gatherings and hearings that Parliament is conducting around the country?
I would not certainly, that would not escape my thought process. It would actually associate with how they are feeling at the end of the day. These public hearings are being done, and at the end of the day, what we talk about is not what comes out, especially from a budgetary point of view. So what's the point? We're still suffering. The disposable income is not where it is and so forth. So at the end of the day, they become disillusioned, they are discouraged, they're demotivated, and yet the power is from the people at the end of the day. If we do not respect what the people are saying, and that's where national interest, because the whole point of consultation at the end of the day is to make sure that whatever we bring to Parliament comes from the people. And if we bring what comes from the people and it's not taken on board and it's not implemented, then what is the point?
Well, there's an issue of whipping system. They are saying the citizens are saying members of parliament, they are not actually relaying the issues from what they are getting from their constituencies. They fear being whipped. They are reprimanded at times. What is your comment?
Now, first of all, the ZANU PF Chief Whip himself, Honorable Togarepi, was not elected by the ZANU PF members, because the rules are very clear. Whoever is going to be the Chief Whip must be elected by the members. He was appointed. So he's somebody who was imposed onto the people. As a result, there's disillusions amongst the members, because they want the due process must be followed. So when you have a government chief whip who has been appointed and not elected by his party members, then it becomes a problem. So at the end of the day, they play dumb. They know that if they go against him, he's been appointed from the higher office, who are we, and so forth. So 129(1)K is something that they are worried about, because you can be recalled anytime. So the whipping system has not at all done any members any good. The same way with the opposition as well. They come up with their agenda, an agenda which is a personal agenda, not a people's agenda. You must have a caucus where you speak freely, you understand, and you bring issues to Parliament from a caucus perspective and so forth. They are not allowed to talk, they are not allowed to laugh. They might as well seek permission to go to the bathroom as well, to the toilet when they are in need of it and so forth. It is totally unacceptable, and it has destroyed democracy in this country.
Now, in conclusion, Honorable, there was a very disturbing issue in regards to the perception, and you earlier said there are clowns in the house, and it is on record. And the issue of the perception, as you have alluded, but do members of parliament, together with citizens, have access to the reports that may come through these committees as they conduct their oversight role across the board?
You see, people work differently. I take advantage of social media. I inform my constituents on what is happening. If you see me on many groups, I post a lot of what would have happened in parliament and so forth. Because our role really are to make the laws, effective representation, and an oversight over government, which is something that we do. And it's up to my electorate constituency to say, did I do my job properly and so forth. So it is important in that regard, like you've asked, that at the end of the day, I think a lot needs to be factored in. But ultimately, the people in parliament are a result of the people of Zimbabwe, the electorate. So while they're saying they are clowns, what about those who elected them? Who are they then? So you're elected clowns, who are you? You have the duty to elect members of parliament. You have the duty to choose the member of parliament you want before an election without following the party system. You want somebody who will represent you. And because of that, we now are involved in a situation where it's a mere circus. We are the clowns, and the electorate is part of the circus at the end of the day. So the clowns are coming from the electorate, who are the owners of the circus at the end of the day.
So how then would you comment if you hear that the reports themselves, they are being manipulated, they don't bring out as the results as have collected from any committee or any of the...
I mean, listen, it goes without saying, even if you look at question time at the end of the day, most ZANU-PF, they ask sponsored questions where they sit down so that they look good. It's part of their strategy. They are the majority at the end of the day. As a result, that is something that gives them certification without really dealing. I've always said the ruling party, the governing party, must self-critique itself, must be the first to expose corruption, because the president, for example, has a policy on zero tolerance on corruption. So you're actually going by what the president has said at the end of the day. And if you look at it, it's if those sponsored questions don't really do us any good at the end of it in terms of taxpayers' money and so forth. People want to hear the truth. They want to know that things are not happening. It's like the president. He must be coming to parliament to be asked questions. We must move a motion on that. But in trying to move a motion on that, no one will pass the motion. Are you with me? Because we want the president, after the State of the Nation address, we want to ask him, Your Excellency, can come to parliament and tell us the challenges and the success while you've been in office. And why is there no corruption? Why is there still corruption and so forth? But for you to bring that up, it's like you've committed a crime. If you're moving the motion, you have to actually go on a mountain and pray to God and say, God, may this motion be allowed, because they are like you say, no, our president must not be questioned. But yet it is the duty of parliament to represent the people by asking the questions to the president. The good